We're live. Okay, welcome everyone. Let's start off the meeting with a roll call. Dennis.
Here.
Marlene.
Present.
Bill.
Present.
Anton, I believe, is not present, so we'll note him as such. Paul.
Present.
And Wanda. Is she excused?
She's planning on coming.
Okay, but she is not present, so let's get moving. So first order here is the minutes of January 7th. Has everyone had a chance to read them? And if so, can we get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, committee reports. So Marlene.
The governance committee had a meeting and we made the resolution to keep things as they were for the previous year.
Wonderful. So can we get a motion then to approve the governance committee's approvals?
So moved.
Can we get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Committee governance, all of those appointments have been approved. CFO report, Amy.
Good evening. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to produce January financials because the February meeting was so close to the beginning of the month, so I'm just going to quickly go over December
Okay,
again.
sure, not a problem.
Again, these are draft, we're in the middle of the audit, but, just high level, cash in the bank is 4.5 million. Moving to budget versus actuals, we were 7,000 to the good on revenue, 457,000 versus budgeted amount of 450,000. Under budget for expenses by 133,000, so 140,000 to the good for against the budget for the year.
Okay, wonderful. We like profits, so that's good. Good job on that. So when that, with the, when you get the financials out, if you can just, for January, send them out to the group, let everyone take a peek and we'll find to that, next meeting. So really, there's nothing to approve here on the financials. What an update, anything going on there?
We started the audit, I believe, January 7th. We've been uploading all the requests to the BST portal.
Yeah.
I think we are all set with everything they've asked for. So the only outstanding thing is the reports from the projects on
Yep.
job numbers and
Yep.
such. We have gotten a handful of them in, but Antoinette has been diligently following up with all the projects to get those
Yeah, I
moving.
spoke to somebody at BST. Is it Samantha?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
and I think she's gonna be calling you too, Bill. She just had some questions, if they needed service.
Yep.
Okay, well, there's really nothing to move on the reports, but thank you. Next would be the CEO report. Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, everyone. A couple of things going on in the county's economic development arena that I'd like to kind of bring you up to speed on. First and foremost, we have engaged the firm HR&A. You might have known them as Hamilton and Rabinowitz and Altschiller. They've a very well-known economic development consulting group. The county executive had the original county strategic plan done in 2019. And as we all know, the world has changed quite a bit, several times actually, since then. That strategy has guided our efforts to do all these things we've done over the last 5 years, namely, put this organization together, bring the IDA, the CRC, the ACBDC, stage all under one roof in one location. It also called for the focus on several industries, the most prominent of which, and the one which presented nothing short of a generational opportunity for us, was the so-called offshore wind industry. But as you know, the federal administration did a 180-degree turnaround on offshore wind, and not only has refused to issue any new permits to site offshore wind, but in fact issued cease and desist orders to projects underway, two of which are off the shore of New York, Sunrise Energy and Empire Wind. Our Attorney General, Tisha James, is suing the federal government to get those projects restarted. But we had almost $2 billion of investment interest in the ports of Queensland and Albany to manufacture these offshore wind components, which have disappeared. Another kind of casualty of the federal energy policy is our friends at Plug Power, who you'll be hearing from a little bit later. But there's been a significant shift. So all this I'm saying in the way of we need to do a refresh of our strategy and figure out what are those industries that we need to be focusing on and focus our energies on that. It's my belief as your CEO that what we focus on is as important as what we agree to pass on. You can't be all things to all people, and we have to stick to our strategy. We've got to have a good strategy, and we've got to stick to it. So with that, I'd like to introduce Brett Colazzo from HR&A to kind of walk us through a little bit about what the process is about and how this is all going to work. And I'm doing this with all of our organizations. We'll do this with the CRC. We've done it with the Alliance, and we will do it with the ACBDC as well, because I would suggest or recommend that all of you, play a part in putting this strategic plan together, because it'll guide the activities that I bring to you, every month as we finance projects. So, Brett, you want to take it away from here?
Sounds good. Thank you, Kevin, and good to meet everybody. Brett Colazzi, partner at HRA Advisors, and really excited to work with you in the months ahead. As Kevin mentioned, HRA is an economic development strategy firm. We're headquartered in New York. We do a ton of work across New York State, a lot of work with Empire State Development on some of their growth strategies around semiconductors, around biotech and other industries. But we work across the country as well on economic development strategic planning, working with organizations like yours to think about how can entities of different scales and different functions contribute to growing the economy and creating more inclusive pathways to quality jobs and business growth. So excited to work with you, excited to work with Kevin and team. And I have just a few slides just to quickly overview the process we're planning to go through over the next few months with a timeline. I'm happy to take any questions as well on how we plan on going forward. So let me see if I can pull this up. Very good. Everyone see the screen?
If you can enlarge that, Brett, make it, yeah, there you go.
Is that better?
You're good.
Is that a little better?
Yes.
Great. So quickly, we're planning about a 4.5 month planning process that's just begun in January. That's really broken into a couple different steps. So Kevin mentioned, the world's changed. We're looking to understand how the Alliance as an organization overall and the different entities that the Alliance serves as an umbrella for should be operating today and could be operating into the next few years to be most effective. We're not looking for a wholesale sort of reinvention of the Alliance. It's more about a pulse check on where we are today versus where we were 5 years ago, and where to go from here. So the first step for us is to understand the impact the organization has had over the last 5 years. There's been a lot that the Alliance has taken on and moved forward through the IDA and other entities, and we want to understand what's working best, where's the Alliance having the greatest impact, where have there been struggles in trying to make impact, and Kevin mentioned a few, including things like offshore wind, no longer being what it was, and also take a fresh look at how has everything changed from economic trends to political trends to organizational priorities more broadly to sort of reset a little bit on what the Alliance could be focusing on. So that's the first 2 months of study, and then transition from there. And by the way, as part of that, having conversations with the leadership of each of the entities as well, including IDA, and to transition to a conversation about strategy. And based on what's going well, based on where there are needs in the county that are not being met, what are some of the things that the Alliance can be doing more of? What are some things that you might want to scale back on? what are ways you might want to pivot in terms of the kind of ways you're offering programs. And then, what are different changes in structure or approach that would help you expand your overall impact? How do the different entities that are within the Alliance work with each other? What are ways you can think about revenue strategies and being able to sustain the work you do and also potentially grow it? What are ways of growing impact? And to boil that all into a strategic plan that we would put together with very discrete actions to take over the next few years, including sort of who's responsible, timelines, and overall cost. That could serve as, one thing Kevin told us from the beginning, which is great for us to hear, is that the previous strategic plan that the Alliance had really did serve as a roadmap for the organization that staff went back to look at to say, are we on the right track? What should we be doing next? And we're hoping to produce a document that similarly guides you over the next 5 years. So I talked a little bit about this, but right now we're in the process of 2 things. One is understanding the operations of the Alliance and each of its entities, how things have been changing over time, budgets, operating metrics, staffing patterns, et cetera, as well as taking a look at the economy more broadly, how have industry and labor market trends evolved over time, where are there emerging sectors, where have sectors shrunk back, where is there a great need on the employment side, how have the real estate market and development trends changed, we know there's a great need for housing, we know there's a great need, a really tight market for industrial space. What does that suggest geographically about where the county might want to play the greatest role? And then what are other factors that are external, that kind of influence how the county and the Alliance might want to focus its efforts. Just as important as the data analysis, maybe even more important, are the conversations. So we're planning on having conversations with county leadership, with the board leadership, as well as work sessions with the staff of the Alliance and really getting into the details of what's going on now and also checking some of the early ideas we have about possible shifts of approach and possible new programming. And then we will be doing a series of interviews with folks, in addition to staff and leadership within other economic development actors across the county and the city and region to understand, again, how they interact with the Alliance in ways that the Alliance can be more impactful. And that includes businesses that you support and you've interacted with and you funded. So we're right now in this sort of early fact-finding phase, sort of getting to know the organization better, getting to know the broader economic landscape better. By the end of February, we'll be putting our thoughts together and having a workshop with Kevin and his team to share back some of those initial findings and sort of workshop what some of those initial thoughts are about approach, and then transition in March into more of the detailed thinking about, okay, if you want to become this kind of organization, what does that mean about revenue and staffing and different program changes, with the goal of having a draft plan by the end of April and something that the various boards can take a look at and hopefully approve by May. So with that, I'll pause and happy to take any questions, or Kevin, if there's anything you'd like to add.
No, thanks, Brett. I think that does it. Any questions for Brett on this? This is important to us. This is, we really do use our strategy. We really try to stick to the plan and let this guide the activities on an ongoing basis.
Brett, have you had any similar engagements for organizations like this in upstate New York?
We've been doing some work, it's a little bit different, but with 2 entities of Empire State Development. One is the Office of Strategic Workforce Development, which is trying to take a more strategic approach to funding workforce programming across the state, including in Capital Region. So we've put together their strategic plan as they stood up that new office. And again, it's a combination of, what's the data telling us is happening that needs to be addressed, and what are the relative strengths of different kinds of organizations. ESD doesn't want to be everything to everybody, just like the Alliance doesn't want to be. And then still, we've been working with the ESD office of both SEMI on their strategies around semiconductor industry growth in both, central New York, where the Micron plant is coming, but also in Capital, both with Global and New York Crates.
And if I heard you correct, you had a chance to look through our whole strategic plan, sort of take a look at, that methodology and, sort of build off of that. Is that sort of the idea?
That's the idea, yeah, and that was a very well done plan, and I think the same approach of trying to understand, what are the needs, but also who else is doing what, and where is there really a unique role for the county organizations to lead. I think one of the big differences between 5 years ago and now is that there's just a tremendous amount of momentum in the capital region. There's a lot of investment happening, sort of downtown Albany, there's a lot of investment happening around a couple different industries, including semiconductors and bioscience. And so how do you play in that? And sort of what are opportunities that you have to make sure you're, a step ahead of the private investment and making sure that you're both attracting, but also, creating the conditions where county residents benefit from the investment that's happening.
Anyone else? Any questions?
Just basic, who's the customer? Is the customer the county, the alliance? I know that the benefit is for the county, and
Well,
it has to do with the overall economic development, but who's the customer in this
Well,
case?
The customer is the county, so to speak, but who's paying for the study? It's the IDA, the CRC, the Alliance, and the ACBDC. This is really just a refresh of the county executive's original strategic plan done in 2019. So it'll be used the same way we use that one.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Brett? So you'll be hearing more from him as we go on. I think he's going to be reaching out and speaking to some of you, if not all of you, along the way. And, hopefully we can come up with something that, gives some direction and guidance to the staff on our day-to-day activities. Thanks, Brett.
Thank you so much.
So I'd now like to,
Actually, can I just ask a couple of questions
did you want?
about, oh no, this is for the AACA, I guess. So will the IDA be asked to help fund the report, the
Yes.
strategic report?
Yes.
Okay, and will we be voting on that at some point? Because not in our budget right now, right?
You could, I mean, it's a professional service, it's not required that you vote on it, but you could,
Okay,
you could
okay.
choose to do that.
Just curious about that.
And was this RFP?
No,
Okay.
No, it was not.
Does it have to be?
No.
Okay.
it's again, professional services, and it's under the threshold of what we're required to do.
And we're gonna whack it up 5 ways, is that the?
I think probably 4 ways,
Okay.
I'm not sure that the Pine Hills would be appropriate to do that.
Pro rata, is that the way?
Yeah, it's just,
Okay.
25, 25, 25.
Okay.
It's really important we redo this.
I got it.
Our strategy has kind of,
Outdated.
well, it just, the major piece of it was just ripped out from underneath us. That offshore wind thing was, without any exaggeration, this was $2 billion of investment interests in the ports of Albany and Queens
Gone.
that evaporated overnight.
If they move forward with those projects now, a lot of them are, because we're winning the lawsuits, it's still not coming back to us.
Well, that's an excellent point.
That's what I've heard, they're not coming.
Think about if you're the Port of Queens, are you gonna wait around for 2, 3, 4 years to see maybe it'll come back? Probably not. And I know that the Port of Albany is, already marketing that Beacon Island site that they put together, which is a spectacular site. And it's, not being marketed for offshore wind. No, it's,
But they are moving forward with those construction, those sites now.
which sites?
The one off Long Island.
No, they've put a halt to it.
Yeah, tell me about the
Trump
decision.
issue. Well, there was a recent court ruling that overturned the cease and desist that Trump put out there. But, I don't know what's gonna happen with that,
What I read is they're moving forward with construction again.
Yeah,
Based on that decision that just came down here. Because they already have so much money invested in it, they're not just gonna,
Yeah, no.
they're gonna do what they can with it while they can.
I mean,
I
they-
don't know if they're even feeling that, they probably will.
Well, Letitia James is suing the Trump administration for, the cease and desist work, and, but, I mean, just think about it. investment capital craves certainty of outcome.
Yeah, I'm not,
And these people have already spent, forget about the towers that are half built or the platforms that are out in the ocean. The real estate alone was auctioned off for $4.3 billion. That was just the New York real estate, the real estate off the coast of New York in the Atlantic Ocean. So you think, I don't know if they bought it, they're making lease payments on that, so it's just, just a bad situation all the way around.
yeah, I don't blame you not wanting to maybe get into that world if it's like not something that you can really rely on. But I think based on what I read a couple days ago, they have won some of those court cases and, it is moving forward again. But whether you would want to rely on that and put a lot of investment into, the port or, or Queens too, based on the uncertainty, I think that's wise.
Well, it's the industry, the blade manufacturers and the tower manufacturers and the cable manufacturers, they've disappeared.
Right.
And these were all, maybe with the exception of GE Vernova, they were all, European companies. GE Vernova was going to build a turbine manufacturing plant down at Port of Queens, which just that one investment was $900 million.
All right. No,
Maybe it'll come back.
Yeah, no,
Right now, it's
Yeah.
DOA.
it's too uncertain.
And I want to say, I appreciate the opportunity to weigh in on the plan as well. And I saw that in his presentation.
Right.
So that's great. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd love to, there's some things that I think the AACA, not the IDA
Yep.
necessarily, can be doing for our communities. And I'd love to talk about that.
Well, and the benefit of that is that as the plan gets put together and as we start implementing the plan, projects will come in front of the IDA and the AACA and the CRC that will hopefully reflect all of your input into this plan, right? So, instead of you saying, well, why the heck are you bringing this to us? Where did this project come from? Hopefully we'll be able to say, well, it directly relates to our study in this specific way, right? So that, it's all about trying to be strategic and to be, focused in what we do and how we do it.
Just be sure, he reaches out to, Marlene and the team.
Oh, yeah, no. All of you will, Brett was, we were thinking about, should we do a single meeting with just the boards of all of the organizations? Should we do one with, individual members, but we'll figure that out and get that underway.
Okay, good.
And was this firm the author of the 2019 report?
No, the 2019 report was done by a Saratoga firm called Camoin Associates.
The one we used for the
And
economic studies?
you remember Bergman, the engineering firm? They and Camoin jointly did the first plan. But we thought, with a fresh look, it'd be good to have a new firm in, and so.
Sounds good. What's next?
Any other questions on that? Okay. So with that, let me introduce Clayton Besh. As you all know, we are in the process of transferring the ownership of the Altech Steel site in Watervliet from kind of sort of the county to the IDA, so that we can proceed and go along in getting this site shovel ready, in doing a generic environmental impact statement, so that as if and when we start marketing this and we find somebody interested, we can have an expedited approval process, get them in very quickly, similar to what the town of Bethlehem did with the Vista Technology Campus and the town of Queens did with the Port of Queens. Those projects, those sites are pre-permitted, if you will, shovel ready. And it's easy to get interested parties into those developments very quickly. And that's what we'd like to see with the Altech Steel site. But Clayton's been working on it. Clayton, you want to just give everybody an update?
Well, since the last time we spoke, I kind of outlined what Kevin just described. And since then, the tax bill from the town of Colony has come to the county, and now it's in their hands to pay, and then the transfer, they will trigger the transfer to us. And if Chris has any
No,
details.
that's exactly right. And then after that, we will transfer it from the IDA to the LLC that we've already authorized, which creating that will take a day, so.
Perfect.
Any questions on that? You know, again, this is single best industrial site we have in the county. It's got at least up to 60 megawatts of power right there, you know, the high capacity wires, you know, rail, sewer, water, road access is a little congested, and we may have to figure out some alternative truck routes into the site. But this is a site that we negotiated a liability agreement with the Department of Environmental Conservation. As you know from our past discussions, this was a Superfund site. And DEC agreed that to let us, instead of removing all the underground contaminants, is to just leave them there and cap the site and build on top of that and establish some monitoring wells. So as we get a company who's interested in there, they'll do their project, and if anything perks up out of the soil, we'll deal with it. But, you know, again, this is just, you know, a premier industrial site, aside from being a Superfund site. It's like, so how's the opera, Mrs. Lincoln, otherwise? But it is really good. You know, power is the single largest gating issue that we have to economic development in upstate New York. There is, you know, limited generating capacity, and there is inadequate distribution capacity. We're working on a project down in the town of Queens to get high capacity power up into the port of Queens, and that's an $85 million project. We assisted the town in securing a $17 million Fast New York grant, and there's been some issues associated with that, which I won't go into, but this is a great site. So with that, last item on our agenda here is our update with Plug Power. Joining your meeting today is Doug McLean, who you've known from past meetings, is here to answer any questions. But we have a resolution for your consideration along the lines of our discussions over the past several meetings about the project. And the thing that I would just like to remind everybody, and at the base of this, if you recall, the county executive and the county legislature offered Plug Power a $5 million incentive program to move to the Vista Technology Campus, which they agreed to do. But only $2 million of that $5 million was ever dispersed to the company. That $2 million, as you all know, came from the IDA. So that is kind of sort of at the basis for this. And maybe with this, if nobody's got any questions for me or Doug, we can turn it over to Chris to walk through the resolution and what we've done here.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
Any
So,
questions along the way?
sure. So the resolution is pretty simple. I mean, it authorizes the job level employment terms on Exhibit A to the resolution. So we would modify, last page, sorry. We would modify the project agreements. Remember, this was two projects kind of happening right around the same time, Vista and Plug Power, both of which had project agreements, both of which had the same job numbers. So this resolution would authorize us amending the levels of employment in those project agreements to reflect what's in Exhibit A. And again, we had a healthy discussion at the last meeting on this. We discussed this at the last few meetings, I think, in terms of, in the resolution document, it refers to this, the different, the changes in the economy with regard to this kind of energy. So happy to answer any questions.
Also, the board received the actual number of employees in a separate email. My memory serves me correct, that we agreed to send out to everyone to review prior to the meeting. I'm assuming everyone reviewed that and saw that information. So what we're proposing here, right, Chris, is, this revised for the 2025, 26, 27. To sort of come with the expectations of Doug and his team, what they put together. And
Yes.
it seems, I think our rationale was take 40%, of the previous commitment and sort of modify this year. I would make one other comment that in 2025, where the modified levels of 435, I want to say the actual sort of came in at like 860, 840 something.
848
Yeah,
was
correct,
actually
correct,
70,
correct. So-
78%.
Right, so with that, open it up for comments, or if there are no comments, look for a recommendation to, move this, we can get
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out, thanks
No, I
for,
appreciate it.
all of the communication along the way, and certainly keep us in tune, with, how the organization's doing. You got an open invitation, to come on in and sort of give us an update. And I think at one point, I think some of the board members asked for a tour of the facility, which, I don't know if, that ever came full circle, but, maybe, some of the board members are interested in taking a tour of, quite a nice campus. Certainly, maybe we can work through Kevin and his team here to set something up for us, just to, see what's going on over there.
Certainly, yeah, and I know, our, Andy Marsh, our outgoing CEO, I think March 1st is kind of the transition, and maybe a good opportunity to meet our new CEO, Jose Luis. So
No time for it, but
I'd love to
Yeah.
open that up, and I'm happy to do it.
yeah, great.
Tour, show.
Yeah, that's fine. I think I remembered in my head the other day that we were gonna go out and, kick the tires a bit, and I think Marlene wanted to do that
Yeah.
as well. And, I think it's a good idea to go out and, see where the money was invested and, see the good things that are going on over at Park.
Certainly.
So with that, I don't know if we got anything else on the agenda here today. Any other business, Kevin?
Nothing for me, Mr. Chairman.
So any other?
Just have a question.
Yep.
Did we, handle that resolution, that was the housekeeping resolution? I know we had a report of the governance committee, but there seems like they're in the papers, there was a
Yeah.
draft housekeeping resolution. I don't know, did we bring that to a
We did.
vote, or we did? And I was asleep during that part of the meeting?
I'm not saying, we did, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
With no other questions, we're not going into executive session. Can we get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Motion second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Thank you. Thanks, Doug.
Say